Our next candidate for the office of United States Senate is Kenneth Stepp. Kenneth, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here in Owensboro. And what I was wanting to talk with you about, there's several different issues between the candidates and issues with Mitch McConnell. One of the issues you've heard about in some of the commercials is a question about party loyalty. Well, I'm a Democrat, and I don't think you've heard any of the other candidates make this statement, but I pledge that I will vote. Okay, you've got a very close presidential race going on between Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, and I pledge to you that whichever one is the nominee, I'll vote for that person in November. Another question about you have a 7-man campaign for United States Senator from Kentucky in the Democratic primary, and I also pledge to you that whichever person wins that Democratic primary is the Democratic nominee in November, I'll vote for that person in November. And I challenge the other 6 Democratic candidates to make that same statement. The other candidates have touched on the war. I think I've been the most outspoken candidate concerning what we should do about the war. When I was running for United States House of Representatives 2 years ago against Hal Rogers in eastern Kentucky, I did get 52,000 votes, and one of my platform pledges was I'd be voting to get the United States troops out of Iraq in January 2007. Well, January 2007 has come and gone. We've still got troops in Iraq, and we seem to be losing 1,000 troops a year over there in Iraq. Now, Mr. McCain says he is misquoted, but I think at least he said he would be happy to keep American troops in Iraq for another 100 years. I don't know the exact words, but I think that's pretty accurate. And we're losing 1,000 troops a year over there, and if we keep them there another 100 years, we'll be losing 100,000 troops over there. Now, the other candidates mentioned that we've already been in Iraq longer than we were in the Civil War and longer than we were in World War II, but if we keep troops over there for 100 years, we'll have lost more troops in Iraq than we lost in the Korean War and the Vietnam War combined. So what I say is let's bring them home, and people worry about a presidential veto, but that doesn't count here because Congress has the power of the purse. If Congress votes no, there's no war over there that we're in. And I would vote no. If they have a budget that includes United States troops being in Iraq, I would vote no. And if they don't get a majority of the votes for that, it doesn't matter about that 60% thing that Mitch McConnell talks about. There's no presidential veto involved. There's just no United States participation in the war. Now, another thing I want to talk with you about is the presidential veto. Normally, in a normal Congress, you have majority rule, and if Congress wants something 52 to 48, then it passes. But not with Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell threatens to use the power of the filibuster, and he insists that unless they've got 60 votes for something, it doesn't pass. Well, a couple of years ago, there was a Lilly Ledbetter versus Goodyear case, which is a women's right to equal pay case under the Equal Pay Act. And the United States Supreme Court, I'd say misinterpreted the law, but interpreted the law so that the statute of limitations in such a case starts to run not when the person gets their most recent paycheck, not when the person finds out about the abuses, but when the corporate board makes the decision to follow that policy. So what that means is if 20 years ago your employer decided that they would only pay women 75% of what they pay men, then you can't sue them under the Equal Pay Act now because that statute of limitations passed 20 years ago. Now what Congress tried to do is to, with what they call the Lilly Ledbetter Act, was to amend these laws so that it made it plain that the statute of limitations runs the way most people thought they did rather than going back so many years. But Mitch McConnell, with his threat of the filibuster, killed that bill. So basically the Equal Pay Act only applies to a very small number of people, but you still got the regular civil rights that you could sue under, but the Equal Pay Act is pretty difficult to get under. Another thing I'm in favor of is what I call the Scotland Plan. In Scotland, the government gives free college educations to all who are attending public universities. And we should do that here in Kentucky and the United States too. If Scotland can afford it, we can afford it. Another thing on my platform, I'm opposed to torture. It should be against the law for anybody who's a United States citizen to torture anybody. And I'm opposed to torture. Thank you. Waterboarding and other kinds of torture in rendition to torture. Another thing, I'm also opposed to warrantless wiretapping. If they want to tap your phone, they need to get a warrant. And my name is Kenneth Stepp. I'm a Navy veteran. I'm a graduate of Clemson University with a bachelor's degree in management, also a graduate of the United States Naval Postgraduate School, and also a graduate of the University of Georgia School of Law. And I'd appreciate your vote. Please vote for Kenneth Stepp, United States Senate, Kentucky. Thank you.